But I caught him working in a hotel suite, with his intern and my necklace on her nightstand. I smiled. He wanted loyalty. I gave him consequences. People say marriages die with screaming matches and shattered wine glasses. Mine died with a Google Calendar invite. Client strategy sync. 7:30 p.m. Monica Lane location. Off-site. I stared at the screen for a full minute. No client name. Just Monica Lane, his oh-so-helpful head of ops. If I had $1 for every time he said, "She's just ambitious, babe. Relax," I could fund Monica's next manicure. Hell, I could probably buy the salon. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I stared at the screen, highlighted the time block, and pressed repeat event. Weekly. That was the moment I knew my marriage had a third wheel. Graham Hayes wasn't a villain, not at first. He was the classic startup golden boy. All blazers and big ideas, elevator pitches and espresso shots. When we met, he told me he wanted to disrupt the way people connected online. Turns out he was just disrupting my life, one late night at a time. He used to come home from work glowing, tired but happy, hungry for takeout and foot rubs and my opinion on pitch decks. Now he walked in with lipstick smudges on his collar and called it printer ink. Printer ink doesn't smell like Gucci Bloom. Claire, my best friend since college and a full-time HR assassin, was the first to call it. "He's not working late, Brie," she said, twirling noodles on her fork like she was about to murder someone with them. "He's working her." I sipped my wine. I don't want to jump to conclusions. Claire raised an eyebrow. "Girl, you're not jumping. You're being pushed." That night, Graham got home at 11:47 p.m. I was in bed, silk robe on, sheet mask halfway dried, pretending to read a novel but actually studying his every move. He kissed my forehead absently. "Big client dinner. Went long. Did you eat well?" I asked sweetly. He rubbed his stomach. "Stuffed. Funny. There were 2 uneaten meal prep containers in the fridge with his name on them." I hummed. "Monica's calendar said you were at the peninsula." His head jerked. "You check her calendar?" "No," I smiled. "I just happened to be tagged in the invite she accidentally made public. Tech mistakes happen." He blinked. I turned the page of my book. "Next time, tell her not to title the dinner, Strategy Private. Kind of defeats the whole secret affair vibe." He opened his mouth to protest. I closed the book. "Relax, Graham. I'm not accusing you of anything. Yet." The next day, I placed a small GPS tracker under the passenger seat of his Tesla. It took less than 20 seconds. Before marriage, I was a digital strategist with a specialty in consumer behavior. After marriage, I just stopped charging for my insights. But now I was billing again, starting with karma. By Thursday, I had a map. Graham wasn't going to the office, or a co-working space, or client sites. He was going to the Four Seasons, Suite 1806. Every Tuesday and Thursday. That night he came home humming and tossing his blazer over the chair like he'd just closed $1 million deal. "Long day," he groaned, cracking his knuckles. "Oh," I asked, scrolling calmly through the hotel's online reviews. "You were at the Four Seasons?" He froze. "Wait, what?" I blinked up at him, feigning innocence. "Oh, I thought I overheard you say that on the phone earlier. Must have been someone else." He swallowed hard. "Anyway," I said, rising from the couch, "I'm going to bed. You coming?" He hesitated. "Yeah. Just need to reply to a few emails." Of course he did. I didn't confront him that night. I didn't throw his laptop across the room or slash his tires. Instead, I emailed our accountant and asked for access to our joint portfolio. "For estate planning," I wrote. Then I created a new LLC under my maiden name. Then I called Claire. "Tell your lawyer friend I need a name. Someone who charges by the scalp." She cackled. "It's go time." "Oh baby," I said. "It's past time. Let's torch the schedule." That weekend, Graham suggested a date night. "Been too long," he said, kissing my neck. "Let me make it up to you." "Sounds fun," I smiled. "Where are we going?" "The peninsula." He didn't even flinch. "No babe. Somewhere chill. Just us." The next night we ended up at a steakhouse where he spent more time checking Slack messages than looking at me. Monica's name popped up 3 times. I excused myself to the restroom, took a photo of the screen and emailed it to myself with the subject: Exhibit E, Emotional Affair 101. Later that night we curled up in bed like strangers waiting for a train in the same station. "Do you still love me?" he asked suddenly. I stared at the ceiling fan. "I think I love the version of you that stopped existing when Monica Lane started attending late meetings in lingerie." He jolted. "Jesus, Brielle. You asked." He rolled over, annoyed. I rolled my eyes, amused. "On Monday I booked a massage. Then lunch with Claire. Then a solo staycation at the very hotel he'd been using for his side project. Suite 1806 had excellent lighting for selfies. I left the curtains wide open. Let security see me arrive alone. Let the front desk confirm the booking was in Mrs. Brielle Hayes' name. I let the city watch me exist, flawless, well-dressed and unbothered. Graham texted at midnight. "Where are you?" I replied with a selfie in a robe and a single word. "Working." I came home the next morning glowing like I'd been reborn in a cashmere womb. My hair was blown out, my nails gleamed rose quartz pink, and I smelled like a tax bracket Monica couldn't reach. Graham was in the kitchen pouring stale coffee into a mug that said #TheEnergy. He blinked when he saw me. "You were gone all night?" I dropped my bag on the counter. "I was working." He frowned. "You didn't say anything." I flashed a breezy smile. "Neither do you." He opened his mouth, then closed it like a glitching iPad. I walked past him and patted his back. "Don't worry, babe. I didn't need permission." After a long shower, I opened his briefcase. Something he never usually brought home. Not out of curiosity. Out of instinct. And there was, slipped between 2 contracts and a crumpled tie, a receipt from Le Papillon Noir. 5-star restaurant. Valentine's Day menu. Champagne pairing. 2 guests. Valentine's Day. The night he said he had a back-end server emergency. I stared at the printed paper like it owed me an apology. And then I laughed. The kind of laugh that comes from the edge of rage, where dignity and sarcasm hold hands and start planning. I didn't confront him. Confrontation is what he expected. Confrontation gives men time to prepare, defend, gaslight, reframe. No. I wasn't giving him a debate. I was building a case. That afternoon I met with Dana Patel, the lawyer Claire referred me to. Dana wore black eyeliner like war paint and stilettos sharp enough to qualify as weapons. She flipped through the receipts, screenshots, and GPS logs I'd compiled in a discreet pink folder labeled tax documents. "I assume this isn't actually for the IRS?" she asked, eyes glinting. "No," I said, sipping my lavender latte. "It's for a different audit." She smirked. "Smart. Do you want scorched earth or quiet exit?" I leaned forward. "I want to ruin his illusion of control. And I want to look hot doing it." Dana nodded slowly. "My kind of client." Step 1 was securing the finances. I'd already removed myself from our shared checking account. Graham hadn't even noticed. Dana had her team fast-track property assessments. Turns out most of our major assets were bought with my inheritance, and I had the receipts to prove it. Graham may have been the face of the business, but I was the backbone of our lifestyle. Step 2. Image. I updated my wardrobe with aggressive elegance. Tailored blazers, expensive heels, jewelry that whispered, independently funded. Step 3. Let him hang himself with his own lies. Claire helped me plan the dinner ambush. Graham's company was hosting a formal partnership dinner at a rooftop restaurant downtown. Naturally, Monica was going to be there. Naturally, I was not invited. Naturally, I RSVP'd anyway. I showed up in a slinky black dress that shimmered like gasoline under moonlight. Hair up. Red lip. 1 diamond earring. Just 1. Graham's face when I walked in could have been framed in the Louvre. Equal parts panic, shock, and oh shit. Monica blinked like someone had unplugged her router. "Darling," I said, air-kissing the senior partner's wife. I couldn't let Graham represent the Hayes name alone, could I? Monica stepped forward. "This is unexpected." I turned to her with a warm smile. "Monica, right? The one with the 9 p.m. meeting every Tuesday and Thursday." She flushed. That's confidential." "Oh honey," I purred. "The only confidential thing you should worry about is your tax bracket when the prenup hits." Graham coughed. "Brielle, can we talk?" "I am talking," I interrupted, raising a glass of champagne. "To the people in the room who deserve it." Then I clinked glasses with a venture capitalist and slid into conversation like a queen reclaiming her throne. I didn't stay for dessert. I didn't need to. I was the show. The next morning he left a voicemail. What the hell was that? You made a scene in front of my board. I sent him a voice note in return. That was the prelude, sweetheart. Act 1 starts when the papers arrive. That weekend I took myself on a solo brunch date. French toast, strong coffee, the New York Times. A young couple sat beside me whispering about startup life. He says he's just working late, the girl murmured. I leaned over. Check the calendar app. If it says, strategy sync, with someone named Monica, run. She blinked. Wait, what? I winked. Trust me. Back home I watched Graham spiral. He tried to be sweet. Flowers, texts, small talk over dinner. He even remembered to rinse his dishes, a desperate signal of reformed behavior. I played along, but only just enough, because I wanted him to feel the shift. Wanted him to realize that I wasn't sad. I was strategizing, and the more I smiled, the more he flinched. Claire dropped by with wine and gossip. So, how's Mr. 9 p.m. looking these days? Panicked, I said. He's calling me babe again. It's like watching a raccoon try to fix a microwave. Does he suspect the divorce? Not yet. He still thinks he can spin it. Claire grinned. Can I be there when he gets served? Front row, I promised. Bring popcorn. I spent the next few days cleaning out my digital life. Passwords changed. Cloud backed up. Contacts exported. And a new folder appeared on my desktop. Operation Freedom. Inside. Photos from the dinner. Legal documents. Pre-approved apartment listings. A digital copy of my grandmother's engagement ring. The one I was pawning. Not out of need. Out of symbolism. I saw Monica at a yoga studio the next afternoon. She was wearing Athleta leggings and gilt. We locked eyes in the mirror. I smiled. She looked away. I whispered to the girl beside me loud enough for her to hear. Sometimes I forget the mistress thinks she's the main character. Graham liked to play house in public. He liked smiling over his wine glass while Monica laughed a little too loudly at jokes that had been recycled from his investor pitch decks. He liked flexing his ring finger at dinners while quietly sliding it into his pocket behind closed doors. But he made one fatal mistake. He underestimated the woman he married. Because I wasn't just his wife. I was the woman who built his brand deck, pitched his first angel investor, and had enough screenshots to sink a yacht. So when I saw the company-wide dinner announcement CC'd to the board and investors, I didn't hesitate. I RSVP'd. And this time I didn't wait for permission. The event was held at a private garden bistro. Very minimalist, very exclusive, very tech bro meets curated moss wall. Graham arrived arm in arm with Monica. Monica wore black satin. Too much highlighter. And Graham's arrogance like perfume. I stepped out of the Bentley Claire rented for me wearing a crimson sheath dress that hugged like vengeance and heels so sharp I could have filed for divorce with them. The maitre d' blinked when he saw me. Name. Brielle Hayes, I said, sliding off my sunglasses. And no, I don't need to be walked in. They've been waiting for me. The air shifted when I entered. Like everyone knew something was about to burn. Monica nearly choked on her Aperol spritz. Graham turned whiter than the bread rolls. I smiled sweetly and glided toward the table. Darling, I said, leaning down to kiss Graham's cheek. You forgot to remind me about dinner. He stammered. I didn't think. Clearly, I replied. But don't worry. I saved you the trouble of an awkward introduction. I turned to Monica. Monica Lane, correct? I've heard so much about you. Mostly after 9 p.m. A VP at the table sputtered into his cocktail. Another whispered, oh damn. Monica straightened. Mrs. Hayes, perhaps now isn't the time. Oh sweetheart, I cut in, slipping into the empty chair beside Graham. You don't get to tell me what time it is. I bought his first watch, remember? Silence. Delicious, scandalous silence. I lifted my water glass. To late nights and early alibis. Dinner continued awkwardly. Monica didn't touch her risotto. Graham tried to salvage the evening with startup jargon, but nobody was listening. The board watched me like a live episode of a legal drama. Halfway through dessert, I leaned toward Monica. Tell me, I asked, tilting my head, does it feel powerful? Knowing he only ever texts you when I'm asleep. Her jaw clenched. You don't understand. Oh, I do, I said. You're not special, Monica. You're temporary. And I'd pity you if I wasn't so busy enjoying this creme brulee. Graham finally snapped. Okay, that's enough. I wiped my mouth delicately. No, you've had enough, Graham. And so have I. I stood, adjusted my dress and turned to the room. Thank you for the meal. I'd say it was lovely, but the company was questionable. Outside, Claire was waiting in the Bentley, blasting Rihanna and holding a glass of champagne. How bad was it? They'll be gossiping for weeks. Claire handed me the flute. To the wife who came, saw and scalped. We clinked. Back home, Graham had the audacity to act betrayed. You embarrassed me, he snapped the moment he walked in the door. Did I? I poured myself a whiskey. Or did I just introduce you? I'm under pressure. The investors are watching me. Good, I said flatly. Now they'll see the real story. And just so you know, I sent them the slideshow you made me edit. The one with Monica's face on your innovation slide. His eyes bulged. You wouldn't. I did, I said. Along with the expense reports. What expense reports? Oh, Graham, I sighed, sipping my drink. You really shouldn't charge the Four Seasons minibar to the company card. He spent the night in his office. I spent it on the couch watching The Good Wife with a bowl of popcorn and my feet up. At 2:07 a.m. my phone buzzed. Monica, you made your point. But dragging me down with him? Unnecessary. I stared at the message. Then typed. Unnecessary was texting my husband in the middle of the night for strategy sessions. You wanted to be in bed with a CEO. Welcome to the fallout. Then I blocked her. The next morning I texted Dana. He knows. Time to serve the papers. She replied with a single thumbs up emoji and the words. Wear something fabulous. Claire came with me to the office building where Graham's company was headquartered. She wore oversized sunglasses and carried a Starbucks like it was ammunition. The receptionist blinked when we entered. We're here to serve Mr. Hayes. I handed over the manila envelope with my rings inside. Wait, Claire said. I have something to add. She opened her purse and pulled out a framed photo of me, standing in front of our first apartment, paint all over my face, holding a blueprint I helped design for Graham's original launch. He placed it on the desk. Return this with the company laptop. And tell him this was the real co-founder. That night I moved into the apartment I leased under Brielle Camden. My maiden name. Modern. Minimalist. I poured a glass of wine and stood on the balcony as the city hummed beneath me. My phone buzzed. Graham, you left just like that? After everything? I typed slowly, savoring every word. You said you were working late. I was just working on a way out. Now we're both done. And I never looked back. There's a particular kind of satisfaction that comes from knowing the man who underestimated you is now forced to spell your name correctly on legal documents. It's Brielle Camden now. No hyphen. No attachment. Just mine. Graham thought divorce would be a speed bump. That I'd grieve and sulk while he adjusted his Instagram bio to founder, builder, optimist. He didn't expect that I'd take the keys to his reputation and start pulling bricks from the foundation he built on my back. Because when I left, I didn't just walk out of his house. I walked into a boardroom and pitched against him. The opportunity landed in my lap 3 days after the dinner debacle. A mid-sized brand, Inetrn, was seeking a digital overhaul. Big budget. Global campaign. Legacy image in need of a modern facelift. Exactly the kind of deal Graham's firm usually devoured. I ran into their CMO, Devon, at an industry brunch Claire dragged me to. He sipped his mimosa, leaned in and said, I heard what you did at the Hayes dinner. Savage. Savage. I smiled. I was polite. For me. He laughed. You should pitch Inetrn. I tilted my head. Is Graham? He's on the list. But we like drama. Drama sells. I put together a brand strategy so sharp it could slice diamonds. Market segmentation. UX redesign. Viral campaign hooks. No fluff. Just vision. I sent my proposal with the subject line. Let's make their jaw drop. They called me the next morning. I didn't tell Graham I was pitching. I let him walk into the boardroom like the king of disruption. Let him pull out his recycled buzzwords. Let Monica sit beside him like a ghost in high heels. And then I walked in. Alone. Confident. Wearing white. White like innocence. Or revenge depending on the lighting. His face cracked. Monica paled. Devon smiled wide and said, Mr. Hayes, Mrs. Cam. Sorry, Miss Camden will also be presenting. We thought it would be fun to compare founder versus co-founder energy. I winked. Friendly competition. Graham turned to the board. She's my ex-wife. This feels inappropriate. I set my laptop down gently. If you're scared, just say that. Laughter around the room. And just like that, he lost control of the narrative. My pitch was clean, confident, data-backed, and dangerous. Every sentence peeled away at the myth of Graham Hayes. The genius who couldn't finish a pitch deck without my editing. The visionary who stole my strategies and wore them like bespoke suits. Monica didn't say a word. Graham barely held it together. When I closed my laptop, I said, you can choose polish or power. One of us is selling both. They awarded me the contract 48 hours later. No polite email. No soft letdown. Just this message from Devon. We want the woman who isn't afraid to bite back. Let's change the game. Graham emailed me that night. You went after the deal just to spite me, didn't you? I replied, oh Graham, you think everything's about you. Sometimes I just want the better table. The Inetrn campaign launched with record numbers. My face was featured in Marketing Monthly's 10 Disruptors to Watch list. Graham's company took a 14% investor dip. Monica left the org chart. Quietly. Without fanfare. Guess there's no point being head of operations when the operation's been dismantled. Claire came over with donuts to celebrate. Babe, you assassinated him with data. I'm so proud. It wasn't personal, I said. Claire raised a brow. I grinned. Okay, it was deeply personal. Dana called 2 days later. Quick update, she said. He tried to counterclaim for emotional distress. I nearly choked on my coffee. What? Because I left. No. Because you outperformed. I leaned back. Tell him I'm billing him for every damn spreadsheet I ever built. Dana chuckled. You're dangerous. No, I said. I'm free. Later that week, I passed Graham on the street. He looked thinner. Tired. He reached out to say something, maybe explain, maybe apologize. I didn't stop. Didn't slow. Didn't even blink. Some goodbyes don't need punctuation. Back at my apartment, I kicked off my heels and poured a glass of Prosecco. My phone buzzed. Devon, drinks next week? Investors want to meet the woman who made the ex look like an intern. I smirked. Only if they're ready to pay what I'm worth. And then some. You know what's funny? Graham used to tell people I was the stability in his life. That I was the constant. The unshakable one. The anchor. He said it like it was a compliment. But what he really meant was, I was predictable. Dependable. Convenient. A woman who didn't ask questions when his meetings ran late. Who restocked the Nespresso pods and remembered the investor's kid's name and smiled through gritted teeth at every networking event where he introduced me as the brains behind my chaos. So when I left and didn't crumble like he predicted, it broke something in him. Because he thought marriage meant I was bound. But the real twist? I was the one who'd let him feel safe all along. He started showing up at places I loved. The cafe by my new office. The bookstore where I bought my business books and poetry in equal measure. He even hovered outside Inetrn's HQ once. Hands in pockets, face rehearsed like he was auditioning for a comeback tour. The first time I acknowledged him again, I was standing in line at Brew and Bloom, about to order my oat milk latte. Brielle, he said. I turned slowly, sunglasses perched like armor. Graham, I said. Shouldn't you be working late? He looked startled. I thought maybe we could talk. About what? Your tax write-offs or your taste in interns. I made a mistake. That's what they all say, I said, stepping forward, lowering my voice just enough to slice. But Graham, your mistake didn't leave you. She just moved out when the utilities got turned off. He flinched. I smiled. Don't worry. You'll find another Monica. Your LinkedIn says you're always hiring. I left him standing in line with his dignity slowly dissolving in the air. By the time I got back to the office, there was a bouquet on my desk. White lilies. My least favorite. No note. Claire saw it and rolled her eyes so hard I thought she might dislocate something. He's trying to crawl back. He better bring knee pads. Ugh. That's visual. That night I opened the divorce case file Dana sent for review. Final settlement. Asset division. Clean cut. I added one thing before signing. A clause requiring a formal written statement acknowledging my co-founding contribution to his company, filed with the state registry. Dana called 5 minutes later. You are savage. Just finishing what I started. The next day, Graham requested a meeting. He didn't text. He sent a calendar invite titled Closure. I accepted and wore red. We met at a restaurant I used to love, until he brought Monica there for a strategy tasting menu. I walked in, confident, controlled, the kind of woman who no longer needed to raise her voice to be heard. He stood when I approached the table, eyes scanning me like he couldn't believe I was real. Brielle, he said. I hear that's my name, I replied, sitting. And I prefer Miss Camden now. He winced. You're different. No, I said, unfolding my napkin. I'm just me without the weight of pretending for you. He leaned forward. You left like it was easy. It wasn't, I said. But staying would have been fatal. Death by 1,000 late nights. He tried to monologue. Tried to explain Monica. Said it wasn't love. Said it was a pressure valve. Said I was distant. Distant. I raised a brow. You mean when I was busy running your life while you were scheduling booty calls over base camp? Don't do this, he muttered. I'm already doing it. You just didn't see the start. Then he tried a new tactic. Regret. You made me better, he said. You were my foundation. No, I corrected. I was your scaffolding. And now you're crumbling without it. He stared. I stood. I'm not here to give you closure, Graham. I'm here to show you what it looks like when the stable wife walks away and doesn't look back. Outside, I didn't cry. I didn't sigh. I just breathed. Deeply. Like someone who no longer needed permission to inhale. That weekend, I boxed the last of his things that had somehow followed me into the new space. A watch. A tie clip. One of his branded hoodies. I tossed them in a donation bag. Except the watch. I sold that. Used the money to upgrade my home office lighting. Because revenge doesn't always look like destruction. Sometimes it looks like flawless video quality on a virtual panel about women redefining power. Claire joined me later that night with sushi and spite. You signed the papers? I did. And I'm officially unmarried. She raised a glass. To the man who thought he had you, and the woman who reminded him who the hell he lost. I checked my inbox before bed. A new email from Dana. It's done. Papers filed. A clean exit. Also, your co-founder clause? It went through. He signed it. It's public record. Attached was the PDF. Graham Hayes acknowledges Brielle Camden as the co-founder of Amplify Systems, retroactively and with full credit. Below it, his signature. Messy. Agree. Perfect. I printed it. Framed it. Hung it next to my degree. Because that man may have tried to erase me. But now he has to spell me out. Graham always thought love was a competition. And he assumed he'd already won. After all, he got the fancy job, the glossy LinkedIn endorsements, and the doting wife who answered emails during her lunch break and said thank you when he remembered her birthday 2 days late. He thought I'd stay. Because women like me, organized, loyal, capable, weren't supposed to leave. We were supposed to be the ones left. But here's the problem with marrying someone who built your empire with spreadsheets and espresso. When we walk away, we don't leave quietly. We take the blueprint with us. Graham tried to spin my exit like a mutual decision. Told his board I was taking time for myself. Told his friends I needed space. But unfortunately for him, the truth traveled faster than his PR strategy. Especially after Textile Weekly ran their profile on me. The co-founder who outsold her ex and did it in heels. I didn't ask for that title. But I didn't reject it either. Claire called me the morning the article dropped. You are so hot right now, she said between sips of green juice. You need a bodyguard. Or a fan page. I yawned. I'd settle for a mimosa and someone who doesn't ask me if I miss him. You know who misses you, she said. Don't. Monica. I blinked. Wait, what? Claire cackled. She posted a story last night. One of those passive-aggressive quote graphics. Some men only love you until you stop clapping for them. I smirked. Translation, she got ghosted. She got replaced, Claire corrected. By karma. Sure enough, the Whisper Network confirmed it. Graham and Monica had parted ways. His words, not mine. The reality? She dumped him. Told. Via email. At 1:14 a.m. The subject line? This isn't a startup. It's a red flag. I knew because someone in his office leaked the screenshot. I wasn't proud of the part of me that laughed. Yeah, I was a little proud. He showed up outside my apartment a week later. Rain-soaked. Unshaven. A tragic rom-com cliché. I watched him from the window for 10 full seconds before deciding how much energy I wanted to waste. I grabbed my umbrella. Threw on a coat. Walked downstairs slowly on purpose. He turned when he saw me. Brielle. Stop, I said, holding up a hand. If this is some kind of notebook reenactment, you're about 17 bad decisions too late. His jaw tensed. Can I just talk to you? You're already talking. I just haven't decided if it's worth listening. He exhaled. I made a mistake. I blinked. You made many. I miss you. You miss the version of me who made your life easier. He stepped closer. I loved you. Loved. I echoed, tilting my head. Past tense. He paused. I nodded. Yeah. That's what I thought. I started to walk past him. He reached out, gently catching my wrist. And I snapped. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked him dead in the eye and said, you don't get to touch the woman who healed from the wounds you caused. He let go instantly. I thought you'd forgive me, he whispered. I did, I said. That doesn't mean I want you back. That night I updated my portfolio website. New testimonials. New press links. New brand colors. And a short blog post titled, Leaving Doesn't Mean You Lose. Within an hour it was trending. 2 days later, Devon invited me to speak at the annual Women in Tech conference. His message was short and delicious. Want a stage instead of a seat? You've earned it. I wore white again. And red lipstick. Claire watched from the front row, grinning like a proud chaos coordinator. I opened with a quote I never got to say during my marriage. I wasn't too much. You were just unprepared. The room erupted. And somewhere in the back I imagined Graham watching from his phone, wondering when exactly he lost the woman who built him. Answer. The moment he forgot I wasn't just the wife. I was the architect. After the talk, a man approached me near the exit. Confident. Familiar. Excuse me, he said. Brielle Hayes, right? Camden, I corrected. Brielle Camden now. He smiled. Even better. His name was Theo, a VC partner I remembered from a pitch years ago. Back then he barely noticed me. Just nodded politely and asked for Graham's take. But now he was shaking my hand like I ran the room. Your work with Inetrn was brilliant, he said. If you ever want to partner on something bigger, my inbox is open. Claire walked up just in time to raise an eyebrow. Is that his actual inbox or? Theo grinned. I'll let her decide. We didn't date. Not then. But we exchanged numbers. And he remembered my coffee order the next morning, so I figured that was a good start. The next time Graham tried to call me, I let it ring out. No voicemail. No response. Just silence. Because at some point even revenge gets boring. And peace. Peace is what he'll never be able to compete with. I didn't plan to make a scene at the gala. Truly. I planned to wear a jaw-dropping gown, sip a French 75, network strategically, and glide out without so much as a whisper of scandal. But the universe, like Graham's ego, had other plans. And who was I to deny the universe a front row seat? The gala was the event of the quarter. Hosted by Vantage Capital, it was where deals were sealed over truffle risotto and future unicorns were birthed in the champagne line. Every founder, fund manager, and hotshot disruptor in the city would be there, including Graham. Naturally, he was on the guest list as the keynote panelist for Resilience in Tech. I nearly choked when I saw it. Resilience? From a man who crumbled faster than Monica's NDA? I laughed for an hour. Then I bought the ticket. Claire arrived early to help me get ready. She tossed a black velvet garment bag on my bed with a flourish. Custom. Tailored. Possibly lethal. I unzipped it slowly. My breath caught. The gown was midnight blue, plunging neckline, backless, with subtle crystal detail down the spine. Elegant. A dress made for walking away after delivering a fatal line. You want him to cry? Claire asked. No, I said. I want him to sweat. We arrived at the gala fashionably 10 minutes late, just in time for photographers, just in time for whispers. Theo was my date. He wore a navy tux and that easy, quiet confidence that made people turn. We entered the ballroom like we owned it. Graham was already at the open bar. He saw me before I saw him. He stared. And stared. And then his hand, the one wrapped around a low ball glass, trembled. Perfect. The first hour was delicious. Compliments. Introductions. People who used to look past me now leaning in to hear my thoughts on the digital behavioral economy. Theo stayed close, respectful, his hand on the small of my back only when I allowed it. Graham hovered. Circling. Waiting. When he finally approached, I was mid-conversation with a major fintech investor who had once called me Mrs. Hayes at a funding dinner. He now called me Ms. Camden with a smile that meant money. Graham inserted himself like a bad pop-up ad. "Brielle," he said tightly. "You look radiant." I turned slowly. Oh, I thought I smelled something familiar. Must be regret. The investor snorted into his drink. Graham's smile twitched. "Can we talk? I'm in a conversation." Theo stepped forward. And she was in the middle of making a point. Maybe schedule an appointment like everyone else. Graham's jaw locked. "You brought him," he hissed. "I brought me," I replied. "He just appreciates the view." Later that evening, Graham took the stage for his keynote. The theme, learning from loss. I almost pitied him. He tried to speak in polished sound bites. Threw in phrases like realignment, self-reflection, and adapting to disruption. But his gaze kept flicking to me. I sipped my drink, unbothered, unmoved, until he said, "Sometimes losing someone shows you what you need to become." And then paused. Too long. Just long enough to make it obvious. All eyes turned. He looked at me like he expected forgiveness. I tilted my head and smiled. Not kindly, triumphantly. After the speech, he found me in the hallway near the coat check. "Was that about me?" I asked, crossing my arms. He sighed. "Everything is about you lately." I smiled. "As it should be." "I meant it," he said. "I lost you. I became someone else." "No, Graham. You were always that someone." I just finally stopped translating. He stepped closer. "Do you still think about us?" "Only when I need material." He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "You built a whole keynote on your failure. But here's the difference between us. I didn't need to lose you to grow. You were the weight I had to drop." He blinked. "Enjoy the speech feedback," I said, walking past him. Claire waited outside with a taxi. "How bad?" she asked. I called him a weight. He grinned. "That's better than what I would have said." The next morning, social media lit up. Photos of me and Theo. Side by sides with headlines like, "From CEO's wife to keynote killer, Brielle Camden owns the room." Even the tech blogs couldn't resist the bait. Graham's PR team went into overdrive, but the damage was done. He had stood on a stage trying to look noble. But the room had already crowned a new kind of leader. And this one wasn't taking late-night meetings. I posted a single story. Me. In my gown. Back turned. Captioned. He said I was too much. Turns out I was just out of his league. Monica liked it. No caption. Just a heart emoji. I didn't mean to go viral. But the universe loves poetic justice and petty women with Wi-Fi. It all started when Monica's name began trending on a closed industry Slack channel. I wasn't paying attention until Claire forwarded me a screenshot with the subject line, "This is Shakespearean." There was a single email. Monica Lane. To Graham Hayes. Sent at 3:22 a.m. Timestamped the night of the gala. Subject, "This isn't a startup. It's a red flag." I thought I was joining a rocket ship. Turns out I boarded a life raft with a hole in it, punched in by your own ego. I believed the vision. The late nights. The champagne promises. I believed you. And maybe that's on me. Because the truth is, you were never trying to build something lasting. You were just looking for applause. And I'm done clapping. Monica. I choked on my coffee. Claire practically levitated. She sent him a professional breakup email. I am gasping. "It's not just a breakup," I said, rereading it. "It's a resignation and a mic drop. God, I hope she blind copied the investors." Turns out, she did. The email was quietly leaked to one person, someone in investor relations, who then shared it in a thread titled, Red Flags and Exit Strategies. Within 24 hours the email hit Twitter, courtesy of a mystery account, named @LateNightLiar. Within 48 it was all over tech Reddit. And by the end of the week, Wired ran a blind item exposé titled, When CEOs Forget Their Wives Have MBAs. Claire framed the headline for me. I hung it next to my Inetrn launch plaque. Graham meanwhile was drowning. The board issued a statement about restructuring. Monica, for all her chaos, had apparently handled half the platform's back-end optimization. The dev team lost 2 engineers who followed her out. Investors grew nervous. And I grew more visible. Theo took me to dinner to celebrate my unintentional demolition. We went to a place with floor-to-ceiling windows and a wine list thicker than my divorce settlement. You're kind of famous now, he said, handing me a menu. I've always been famous, I said with a smile. People just finally learned how to spell my name. He grinned. You think Graham's seen the article? I sipped my wine. Oh Theo, Graham probably printed it. Then cried into it. 2 days later I received an email from Graham himself. Subject, are you happy now? That was it. No greeting. No punctuation. No apology. Just those 4 words. I didn't respond. Instead I took a screenshot, added it to a folder labeled Closure Attempts, and went back to organizing my next keynote. Later that week I ran into Monica. She was standing in line at a juice bar wearing sunglasses and a ball cap, trying very hard not to be recognized. I tapped her shoulder. She flinched. Relax, I said. I'm not here to throw a smoothie. She blinked. Brielle. Camden, I corrected. But yes. She nodded slowly. Guess I should say thank you. For whatever that was. I didn't do it for you, I said, ordering my green detox. But I'm glad you finally learned to hit unsubscribe. She gave a tiny smile. You were right. About him. I know, I replied. I lived the beta version. Claire had a field day when I told her. You're turning exes into activists. You're the feminist reboot of a Marvel villain. Does that make you my sidekick? I'm the sidekick in the PR team, she said proudly. And for the record, we're already being courted for a podcast. That weekend I hosted a private salon for female founders. No press. No panels. Just wine, war stories, and contracts reviewed over brunch. We called it the exit strategy. It was packed. Half of them came because they saw the Monica email. The other half, because they were planning their own version. One of them raised her glass and said, to Brielle, proof that you don't need a man to build an empire. Just a good lawyer and a better tailor. We laughed. But she wasn't wrong. I posted a photo from that night. Me mid-laugh, surrounded by brilliant women. Captioned, you were never the latter. I just had to remember I had wings. It hit 200K likes in a day. Graham, in contrast, was in PR hell. His next product launch flopped. Monica had quietly joined a competitor's advisory board. And I was named Fast Company's woman to watch. Funny how that works. I didn't know I'd been bracing for years, until I finally let myself breathe around someone who didn't expect anything from me. With Theo there were no angles. No hidden scorecards. No late-night strategy meetings, or quiet calculations behind champagne glasses. He never asked me to shrink. He just kept showing up. And the worst part? Terrified me. Come with me, he said one Thursday evening. To where? Somewhere that doesn't involve Google Docs or networking. I raised an eyebrow. So, outer space? He grinned. Close. Upstate. I blinked. You want to leave the city? Just for the weekend, he said. Fresh air. No boardrooms. Just a room. I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to go, but because I didn't remember the last time I traveled without packing resentment in my carry-on. The cabin was all pine and quiet. A fireplace. Bookshelves. A bottle of Malbec already breathing on the counter. Theo tossed his duffel onto the floor, then looked at me, not for approval but for permission. Okay, he asked. I nodded. More than okay. That night we sat on the porch under a sky that looked nothing like Manhattan. Theo poured 2 glasses of wine and handed me one. Tell me something you've never said out loud. I took a slow sip. Thought for a beat. I used to rehearse arguments with Graham in my head. But when they actually happened, I stayed quiet. He didn't flinch. I don't think I ever wanted him to lose, I added softly. I just wanted him to see me. Theo leaned forward. And now, I said, I want to see myself without him. He nodded once. And if someone else sees you too? I looked at him. Really looked. Eyes warm. Jaw set. Shoulders relaxed. He didn't lean in, he waited. And I realized, I wasn't afraid of being seen anymore. Just afraid of being misread. We didn't kiss that night. He tucked a blanket over my shoulders before going inside. And somehow that touch was more intimate than anything I ever had with Graham. The next morning he made pancakes. From scratch. You cook. Poorly, he admitted. But enthusiastically. I laughed as he dropped one lopsided disc onto my plate. Looks like Idaho. It tastes like apology. I took a bite. It did. Later we walked through the woods behind the cabin, the silence between us filled with bird song and crunching leaves. At one point I paused near the stream, crouching to dip my fingers in the water. When I turned, Theo was watching me with something between reverence and caution. What? I asked, suddenly self-conscious. You look lighter here, he said. Here as in, the woods? No, he said. Here as in not carrying him anymore. That night by the fire I let my hand find his. He didn't squeeze. He just held it. Like he wasn't trying to win anything. Just stay steady. Are you scared? He asked softly. Petrified. Same. I smiled. And leaned in first. The kiss was slow. Deliberate. The kind of kiss that doesn't ask for anything, just offers. It didn't feel like a victory. It felt like home. Back in the city we didn't define anything. We didn't need to. Theo sent flowers to my office. Lilies, but the right kind this time. He sent a card that said, "Saw these and thought of you. They're elegant, bold, and impossible to ignore." Claire lost her mind. You're being courted. This is like emotional high art. It's early, I said, brushing it off. Exactly why it's beautiful, she said. You're not his project. You're his choice. One evening, Theo came to my apartment with takeout and a bottle of red. He walked in, saw the framed wired headline on my wall and laughed. You framed it. It's motivational. Do you want to put your ex in every room? I grinned. He's not in the room. My comeback is. We ate on the floor. We talked about nothing. And somewhere between dessert and the last glass of wine, he looked at me like I was the plot twist he'd been waiting for. You know, he said quietly, I didn't expect you. Because I'm intense? Because you're real. I touched his cheek. You're not scared. Oh, I'm terrified, he smiled. But I'm staying anyway. The next morning I woke up with my head on his chest. Sunlight filtered through the blinds. And for the first time in years I didn't feel like I had to earn the morning. When I checked my phone I had an email from a major venture firm. They wanted me to lead a mentorship program for female founders. Attached was a line I would never forget. We're not just impressed by what you've built. We're inspired by how you rebuilt yourself. I rolled over and showed it to Theo. He read it, smiled, and kissed the top of my head. Told you, he whispered. Unforgettable. I used to think the goal was revenge. To break him. Embarrass him. Let the world see the cracks he never thought would show. But now, as I sat by the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new office, sunlight draping across hardwood floors and a fresh espresso in hand, I realized I never wanted to ruin him. I just wanted to remember myself before he forgot me. And I did. The mentorship program launched 3 months later. We called it the Comeback Table, a space for women who were always passed over, talked over, or left behind at their own dinner parties. Theo stood by me at the launch. Not as a sponsor. Not as a shield. Just as someone who believed I could hold a room without raising my voice. The night before I asked him why he stayed. He kissed my shoulder and said, because you never asked me to. Graham sent flowers the day the program hit the front page of TechCrunch. No note. Just tulips. I handed them to the receptionist and said, find a windowless conference room. They'll be more comfortable there. I didn't call him. Didn't text. Didn't need to. Some people deserve your silence more than your story. Monica ended up starting her own consulting firm. We don't talk. But once she sent a message. I used to think you were intimidating. Now I think you were just ahead of me. Respectfully, Monica Lane. I responded with a single word. Healed. Claire meanwhile was thriving. She ran HR for a fintech startup that now enforced actual anti-harassment policies thanks to her. At one of our wine nights she raised a glass to me and said, "You know, you didn't just survive him. You evolved." I clinked back. "I didn't just evolve," I said. "I chose me. The ring Graham gave me, I had it melted, recast into a delicate necklace with 3 interlocking bands. One for the woman I was, one for the woman I lost, and one for the woman I became. I wore it at my next speaking event. The title of my talk? Build Something He Can't Take Credit For. Theo and I didn't rush. There was no white horse. No proposal on a rooftop. No flash mob. Just soft mornings, shared playlists, and the way he looked at me like I was the answer to a question he didn't know he'd asked. One evening, after a long day of meetings, I came home to find a note beside a bowl of takeout pad thai. "You built empires. Now let someone build a fire for you." He didn't knock. He waited. And I let him in. The first time he said, "I love you," we were watching an awful movie with too much CGI and not enough plot. He didn't say it like a confession. He said it like a truth he'd already been living. I didn't say it back right away. I waited. Waited until I knew it wasn't about needing someone. It was about choosing someone who didn't shrink me. And then one quiet night as we danced barefoot in my living room to a Nina Simone record, I whispered back, "I love you too." Not in spite of the past. Because of who I'd become through it. Sometimes I still think of the girl I used to be. The one who checked his schedule more than her own pulse. The one who thought being chosen was the same as being cherished. I love her. But I'll never go back to her. Because now I don't just survive rooms. I command them. On the 1-year anniversary of our divorce, I didn't cry. I lit a candle, opened a bottle of wine, and wrote myself a letter. "Dear Brielle, you didn't just leave. You arrived. And look at you now. Standing in your own light. No shadows left to explain. Keep going. Love me." And that night, Theo walked in with dessert and said, "I booked us a trip." "To where?" "Anywhere you want. Just say the word." I smiled. "Somewhere with no reception." He raised a brow. "No Wi-Fi. No Graham." He grinned. "Perfect. Because this was the love story I never saw coming. Not the one where I won him back. The one where I walked away and didn't look back at all. Think.